What's up, guys? Eric here with MajorLeagueTrading.com, and we have some weird moves going on. Earnings tomorrow in a couple of these names like Netflix after hours, and this thing's up $24.75 today, 5.50%. Nice fresh breakout there on the daily chart and just absolutely ripped to the upside. It only had like a $37 expected move on earnings. And it just moved, $25 today. We're even up a couple extra points here in after hours. So, and this isn't the only one, right? This is the weird part is we've got Netflix, we've got Goldman Sachs set to report before the bell tomorrow. This thing up $10 today, 3.07%. Like, what is this chart? It just absolutely rips to the upside. By 10 o'clock here, this thing's already up 10 points on the day. And these are not normal things to see coming into earnings. So I don't know what I'm going to be doing with this information just yet, but I'm starting to see a couple of these things getting this type of move. And I just want to keep an eye on it. I just want to be aware of it and kind of, put that in the back of the brain here for a little bit and see if we can recall it later if we need to as earnings season starts to come through here. So typically what we'll start to see is a little bit of pattern when it comes to some earnings. We'll start to see, like if we're in a good, strong trending market, like what we are currently, NASDAQ traded up into the $16,000 number today, at least for the futures here. We'll see things like where we get a gap down in a strong name. Yeah, it might be a gap under green potentially, but if it's got a good, strong trend, market's good, strong trend, we'll see that kind of work its way back throughout the day. Apple was a big one last earnings cycle that did something very similar to that. Lulu, same thing. And, a number of those names could potentially see something very similar here. But we're kicking off earnings with a little bit of weirdness. So I just want to point that out. And like I said, we'll kind of track it and see where it goes. Now, in terms of earnings, we had our first earnings play today. Coming from the morning right up here, and that's going to be an SCHW. This is Charles Schwab. And if we take a look at the morning write up, here's what it says. It says SCHW. Now, again, I'm typing this in the morning. Typically from about 8 to 9 o'clock is my wheelhouse. That's my window in which I'm doing my analysis and going over all the gaps and things and then checking for last minute movers and then getting this sent out. So in the pre-market session when I was watching this, when I first started watching this, we were right down in SCHW. When it first kind of came across my thing, we were right down in through here, just over $61, right? So this thing really didn't start moving until about 8:50, right? And then once it did, I went ahead and wrote, okay, this would be better if it was gapping up over 64.34s, but I'm going to go ahead and let it try and prove that strength up over the level today. If it can, then obviously we can look for longs. Now, the last 5 minutes before the bell, this thing rips up, takes out 64.34s, and we get the picture perfect gap above, level retest, and rally out of this name. So our first earnings trade of the season so far here, SCHW, comes out swinging for us. I was able to pick up calls in this for 90 cents, and my top fill exit on those was $1.96 on those. So over 100% on this trade specifically, and I'm still holding for the potential long shot. I took and rolled a little bit of the profits into a couple of the 70 calls here for this week in SCHW. And we'll see if this one wants to continue to rip to the upside for us on a second day continuation earnings play, or even potentially like a 1, 2, 3 pattern here into Thursday. Now, the thumbnail of this video was the shit happens, and with that for me in today was Apple. So Apple was a swing trade. We talked about it from yesterday. I really liked it. Everything was looking pretty good this morning. We were up here 193.70s. It's not too bad. 20 cent, gap down. Not necessarily too concerned about it. And then all of a sudden it just kind of fell off a cliff here, 5 minutes before the bell there. And I ended up closing this position for a grand total of a $300 loss from my entry yesterday. which was basically right down in here, only to watch it rally up and take out yesterday's highs and all of that. So while, yes, I did get shaken out of this trade potentially here, it's getting a little bit of funky action here. This little, kind of sell off into the basically $1 now at this point off of highs here in the after hours. So this would have just played havoc on the P&L either way here. So I'm actually kind of comfortable just sitting with this, allowing it to set up more. And I think potentially Thursday into Friday here, if this doesn't move tomorrow, and as long as we continue to hold this support level down here, I do think it still has some potential to work for us into the end of the week. So I'm not ruling it out just yet, keeping it on watch. Now, another big mover from today, Microsoft here, new all-time highs, nice breakout there, $358. This thing had a crazy range on the day, $24.61. Off of some AI, again, I don't really care about the news, but I guess they had some AI conference or news thing or whatever the case is. And you can see basically when that hit the wire and then the chart started going crazy. In terms of things that I like and that I want to actually do here going into tomorrow, like I said, I'm holding a very small position, just a couple $100 worth of risk in the SCHW. At the moment, though, I was looking at a couple of these bank names that are reporting after the bell today, something like a WAL, and I really didn't see anything on the list here that was going to be worth it. I think the better names like the Goldman Sachs and stuff like that are set to report in the morning, and we'll kind of see how that starts to unfold. Now, we did see a pretty big mover today. I don't really know what this was from. It caught my eye first thing this morning. And I want to go ahead and add it to a list here. MASI. This is actually essentially gapping down to lows of the past basically 5 years at this point. And it got a decent little rally back today, as to be expected here. But something I definitely want to keep on watch if we need some weakness. And speaking of weakness, the other name in which I like potentially to the downside here is Disney. I felt like that was a really smooth segue on my part. Anyways, is Disney. So Disney, weak over the past few days, tried to rally today in the face of the overall markets, like what took place today in the NASDAQ and all that. Crazy. I mean, I think we were almost at like a 500-point Dow range on the day. And Disney here was weak. It was doing the exact opposite of that. So I like the potential here tomorrow if we need some weakness in some of these kind of outlier moves, if you will. And then overall, it really is going to depend on the Netflix and Tesla earnings that are coming out after the bell. So we're right here. We're in the thick of earnings season. There's a long list of names set to report later this week, and I am ready for them. So hope you guys are as well. And as always, hope the video helps. And if you haven't already, thumbs up, subscribe, comment, all the things. Appreciate it. Peace.